Hey, listeners, before we get into today's podcast, I just want to give a shout out to today's sponsor. And today's sponsor is Tiny and Sons Glass. Does your vehicle have cameras or driver's assist? If so, when your windshield is replaced, it will need to be recalibrated. What is recalibration? When your vehicle's windshield is replaced, the safety systems need to then be tested to ensure that they work with your new windshield. Some vehicles require static recalibration, and others require a dynamic recalibration. Not sure who to trust to take care of this recalibration for you? Well, just call Tiny and Sons Glass in Pembroke, Mass. They are experts in auto glass and registered company of the Auto Glass Safety Council. Plus, they make it easy. They will call your insurance company for you. Get your windshield replaced by their highly trained auto glass technicians and get your vehicle recalibrated so you can be back on the road. Tiny and Sons Glass, keeping you and your family safe. Welcome back, Inebri-arts. This is the Jesus Christ. I've had such a weird day today. I'm sorry. I don't know if your PR person told you. I emailed them at like 10:30, been like, "Oh my God, something came up. I can't make 11 o'clock. Can Josh do 2?" Like, it is 2. And I'm like, what am I thinking of? So had a weird day. I apologize. Let me try that again. Welcome back, Inebri-arts. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast, and if you listen to the last one, I said I've been rusty because I've been doing these as much because we really kind of got ahead of ourselves, and today is definitely showing it. I have not been on my game today, so I'm apologizing to today's guest in advance. Joshua Reale, writer director of Necropath. I apologize for anything stupid I'm about to say because I'm off my game today. So I figure let's start with why horror. Like, I'm a big horror fan, but what brought you to that genre?
It's fun. It's exciting. There's a lot of creative outlets with it. I love horror. I've been into horror since I was a little kid, probably like 3 years old, I would say. I do a Halloween attraction called KO Industrial. And I kind of just branched it off from there to do films. So we created Necropath.
So the haunted attraction, those seem to pop up everywhere. Like, kind of, what's the theme of yours? Is it like an old factory? Is that why it's called industrial?
Yeah, it's started in an old warehouse, and then in Little Falls, New York. And then we moved it to Rome, New York now. And that's been the course of, I've been doing it for 18 years now. So it's more of a real world kind of horror. It's not like a, hey, let's make something to scare the kids. It's more, like I was saying, adult oriented, thought provoking. I want people to leave there and actually talk about it and the different sets and stuff like that with it. And like one's called, one event was called BioWar, which is, thinking about war, like actually being in a war rather than reading about it on the, in the paper, on the internet or something like that. So we do like war simulation kind of stuff inside it and really controversial kind of scenes and stuff like that. Another one's Revelation, and I compile the reasons why people think the world's going to end, stuff like that.
It's interesting. Like, horror is such a weird genre because a lot of people don't give it any real credence. Other people love it. Even people who are seriously scared by it love it. Like, there's something about being scared that people really like.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also very personal. Like, there's some movies that people find horrifying and terrifying, give them terrible dreams, that other people just like, meh, whatever, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
When you're writing a film like Necropath, like, how do you try to make it widely terrifying to a lot of people? Like, is that something you really think about, or do you just kind of write what you think is scary?
I just kind of wrote whatever just came to me. When I was writing it, or when I do anything creative, it's kind of, it sounds kind of strange, but it's not like I sit here and think ideas. It's like it's kind of just stare off, and the visions just happen in front of me. I just write them down. So pretty much.
Yeah. Is this the first thing, the first movie that you've written, or?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Necropath. I do have a series, a horror series that I wrote. That's what I really been aiming to do. So Necropath kind of just beat it to the punch. So, which I'm glad it did, because I got a lot of the knack for filmmaking out in Necropath. So
Was there something that you had in the other series that you're like, well, I'm going to put it in Necropath just in case that other thing doesn't happen, or?
oh yeah, actually I did steal a couple ideas from the one of the episodes, if I want to call it episode, that I wrote. There was a character in it, and he's near a fire barrel and he's burning money. And I took that scene and I ended up using for the Skag character in Necropath, because he's so distraught from reality. He has no sense of right and wrong. He's like an animal. He just does his thing. You know, he has his urges to kill, and you know, he has his fixations for his drugs that he does, and he doesn't care that there's a pandemic going on around him. He just wakes up, does his thing, and in the film, other people are caught in his path. So that's kind of like where the story trails off into. So.
And so I was watching the trailer earlier, and that was gonna be one of my questions, because it kind of has a little feel of like a little bit of a zombie movie, but they definitely didn't look like zombies. So is it some sort of disease that's spreading, or?
Yeah, like when I wrote it, I didn't really put a definite reason what was happening. It just kind of was happening, like kind of like what do I want to say? Not like a 28 Days Later kind of zombie movie, like where nobody knows what the hell happened. It's just all these zombies are everywhere. That's kind of like in the early stages of where, you know, they hear about it in the news, you know, like he's like, I don't know if it's chemical accident, this, that. And, you know, obviously the couple in the car in the beginning, they're just ignoring it. And the guy's getting ahead in the beginning, so he doesn't care.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's my favorite type of movie, like especially for like this kind of genre, apocalyptic zombie, whatever you want to call it. Because I feel like when they start to explain it, you're just like, oh, such you know, just I can accept that something went, you know, shit house, and I think that's one of my favorite parts of you know, the classic Shaun of the Dead, is they kind of always like, there was like little seeds here and there, like, oh, you know, this probe returned from space as a news headline, and another news broadcast mentioned something about, you know, rage monkeys or something, and but they never even tried to define it, and like, that's fine. Like I can accept zombies just for zombies.
Yeah. Another thing with Necropath too is with like normal zombie movies, like all the zombies are just zombies. With Necropath, I focused on the character right there.
Yeah.
I focused on him as he's the main, like I don't know if you want to call him a zombie, but
antagonist. He's the main antagonist.
Yeah. But he's like the main character, and usually in zombie movies, there's not like a main zombie per se.
Right.
Well, the ones I've seen, anyways. There probably is. I'm sure there's thousands of movies, but I just made him as the main character of the film, and the pandemic going on was kind of like a side kind of thing going on. So, was
that like, when did you start? Did you start writing this pre-actual pandemic, or?
Yeah, I seen some comments online, and people would be like, "Oh, way to cash in on the pandemic," and I'm like, "We created this in like 2014 to 2018, so."
When last January we're starting to be like, oh shit.
Yeah, I like when it was coming out, and last year is the year we put it out on the film festivals, because we finished it in 2018, and then in 2000 what is it, getting all mixed up. We finished it in 2018. Then I had to move out of my my warehouse. We had to switch locations, so that put the whole film on hiatus.
Mhm.
And then in 2020, I submitted to film festivals, and that's how we got picked up for distribution and
Nice.
stuff like that.
Do you think it's easier making a movie of this type now where there's so many more platforms to be on? I mean, uh, I particularly love Amazon Prime because they have the best bad movies.
Yeah, we just got a Necropath just got on Amazon Prime.
Oh,
So
really? Nice.
yeah,
Congratulations. That's awesome. I
someone
wasn't
told
calling
me
your movie bad. I just that's like I watched Lamageddon the other day and I'm like, this is so
yeah,
great and bad at the same time.
yeah.
So do you think it's easier than say 20 years ago when it was movies like yours tended to go direct to video?
um, you mean is more appreciated or?
Yeah, there's more appreciation for it. It's easier to get it in front of people to see
Yeah,
because of
yeah,
platforms.
yeah. It's kind of interesting. I mean, like growing up in the '90s, like we had video stores and we had order movies on catalogs that we had to wait 6 to 8 weeks for delivery.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, and now you have things like it's Shutter, right? Is that
yeah.
the
It's tons of horror platforms out there now. Just
yeah.
everything. Like we're on. You can get Necropath on like Vimeo, Xbox, Google Play. It's all over now. It's
Oh, it's crazy.
great how the platforms, Voodoo. So
Um so how does your kind of like family and friends are they supportive? Are they like, Josh a little weird? Like how does the whole horror thing fly with your friends and family?
well, they know I've been doing my Halloween event for since I was 22. I started it, and so they're kind of used to me doing all crazy kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then when they got into the film thing, that was just kind of another avenue that I was working on, and yeah, everybody's been supportive. Uh, Great friends and family supportive, and uh, we used actors that were in actors that were in my Halloween attraction. We used some of them to act in Necropath too.
When
So
you work on your Halloween attraction, are there like set pieces there that you're like, oh, kind of inspire a scene where you're like, oh, I'm going to take that and put that into the
yeah,
movie?
the warehouse we were in, it was a giant dilapidated warehouse. So like we had like this huge warehouse, and like the Halloween attraction was in this little part of it, but we
Mhm.
had the whole building that was just like, we just scouted it out and just had made scenes in there and stuff like that. Like the beginning scene where he's shooting up in the bathroom was like just some dilapidated bathroom that we found, one of the rooms.
So you kind of had like ready built sets and like you just kind of
Yeah, pretty much. We just had to like decorate them a little bit more and, you know, continuity,
yeah.
balance and stuff like that.
D-
Lighting.
Um, did you have to like go and search out locations kind of beyond that?
No, actually, we shot all like probably 90% of all the shots like inside the building or in front of it,
Hmm.
and I think one shot we like did it down the street next to the train station that was near us, and that was pretty interesting. A cop stopped by.
So this being your first film, like kind of what was the well, so I'll tell a story to ask a question. A good friend of mine owns a restaurant here in town, and they opened, I think, like 8 years ago. And the opening night, food's coming out, people are eating, so people seem happy. Checks starting to come in, and a waitress came up to him, and she's like, "We have no cash. Like, no one just ever thought to put cash in the drawers." Uh, so when you started making this film, and you always try to be wary of what you're doing, but like were there unforeseen, like how did I miss that kind of moments?
You mean like were there things that we just didn't plan for,
Didn't
overlooked?
plan for that may have seemed obvious in retrospect or
Yeah, the top floor of the warehouse was like a sauna. Like it was like hard to breathe up there on top of like it was disgusting. I think like 100 birds died up there.
oh Wow.
Yeah, it was the most wretched environment, and I can't believe all the actors and everybody, they just struggled through it. And yeah, we did a lot of dealt with a lot of harsh conditions. And when we shot through Necropath, it was actually 3 segments. The first segment, I think it was like in the middle of winter. The second one, I think it was like maybe March, and then the last segment was like in the middle of summer. So it was like one time it was like extremely cold, and then it was extremely hot. We didn't plan for that at all, and we tried our best getting air conditioner units, and that didn't work, and we just kind of just dealt with it. And that's why when you see some of the actors like with that glaze over them, it's probably real sweat.
um, and are you the person behind the special effects? Do you have kind of a special effects person from your haunted attraction? Or?
Yeah, the attraction, yeah, I do, like build the special effects. Well, yeah, it's for KO, but for the movie, we had Kelly Inman. She worked on it with her daughter, and she built a lot of the prosthetic pieces and stuff like that. Because I was running around trying to do all this other stuff, and I learned the hard way that it's really good to delegate tasks and not try to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So, and I always try to take pride in doing everything my own, but you appreciate it more when you don't actually, and you get a team working on it together. So
I always enjoy collaborations because I feel like people come up with solutions for problems or ideas that I would never have even thought of. And
right.
oh my God, that's way easier than I would have done, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you must have developed a fair amount of kind of maker skills from having a haunted attraction. Or you kind of
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to like invoke Tom Savini, but like, are you a big Tom Savini fan? Like, where does your
Well, I did find out recently, or not recently, but I think last year. I can't believe I've never realized it, but Tom Savini was the creep in Creep Show, like the guy in the actual truck in Creep Show 2.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, the guy throwing the magazines out of the back of the truck. I didn't even know it was him, and I was like, wow.
But I mean, like, do you have like a special effects inspiration? Like,
Not really. I mean, I love practical effects, and hopefully I'm making a bunch more movies after this, and I'm never going to use like CGI. I think CGI is a disgrace to filmmaking. It's good in certain aspects, but
yeah,
like take American Werewolf in London, the first one, like when he transforms into that werewolf, it's like kind of hard to watch, or watching The Thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing, watching that, and with all the practical effects that they did in that movie, it's just and it's like watching like the Terminator. It's like the real Terminator that they made in Stan Winston's studio, or watching the CGI one when they're battling. It just kills it, I think. So it's a personal opinion.
I think it's, when used well, it's seamless. Like, you don't even notice it. I remember
Yep.
I was watching kind of a behind the scenes about Apollo 13, and there's a scene where Tom Hanks like pulls back his helmet, the gold visor, and you can see like the face shield with the reflection of the American flag, and Ron Howard's like, that face shield wasn't there, that whole thing was CGI'd, and it was a gorgeous shot, like you couldn't tell.
Yeah, perfect.
To me, that's perfect CGI. But like, anything organic, moving, like, is really, really difficult. I feel like it's gotten better with motion capture, but it's really difficult to make things look natural. But I kind of like when they blend them together. They don't automatically go to CGI. I like when it's a tool, not the default.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, perfectly said.
What is your favorite thing to do special effects wise? Making prosthetics, making something explode, like what?
Just probably everything. Like Kelly in Necropath, she made the prosthetics. Like I'd be freaking out trying to do everything, and I'd be like, yeah, I need a bunch of guts, and I don't have any offhand right now. And she's like, oh, well, I can probably make those. And she sends me a picture later on of like strands of guts she made, and And then I'd be like, oh, I need an ear. I can't find that silicone ear that I had. And she's like, oh, I made one. Like I just made one out of, I forgot what she said, Play-Doh. And then we cased it with latex or something like that.
Yeah. It's always like one of those, that's a text chain that you probably don't want people to stumble across.
Yeah. And then, so I take all the prosthetics and I just, put them in the film. So, and
Nice.
then, for the actual, like in the film, like, I did that with the actor and we just kind of made it work with lighting and, the different angles and stuff like that. So,
so the main character, Skag,
mm-hmm.
Was that an actor from your attraction, or did you find them somewhere else? Like, how did?
I think he started working at KO after the fact of Necropath. But my friend Jeff Orlowski, he actually helped produce the movie too, and he did all the cinematography on it. He brought Mo Isaac along to help on our films because Necropath originally started as it was a contest that Jeff found out about, and that's how Jeff and I got together working on films. We submitted our film to a contest called Empire State of the Dead, and I helped Jeff with his, and he helped me with mine. And when I was helping Jeff with his film, he said, or he had Mo with him, and I was like, oh man, Mo would be perfect for it. He'd be perfect for it. And I was like, kind of like waiting on it. And then when I was up on a ladder, and Mo was holding, he's holding the bottom ladder because I was stringing up set lights for Jeff's film. Mo like stops and he's like, oh, and I was like looking down at him and he pulls his teeth out. And I was like, you have no teeth? And he's like, no, my upper teeth. You could kind of tell, like,
yeah, the poster behind you there.
Yeah, his upper teeth are gone. And as soon as he said that, I asked him right on the spot. And he turned out to be a phenomenal actor through Necropath, as you'll see. He did, amazing.
So as a director, when you're trying to get a performance from a person portraying, psycho of some kind or other, like how do you direct them? How do you try to get that? Like, what is it that you're looking for performance wise? And like, how do you get them kind of on the same page?
A lot of it is just kind of getting them into the emotion of the character, kind of telling the story about it. And then, I don't want to say a lot of takes, but a lot of them just kind of get the feel for it. I used to play, as weird as it sounds, I used to play like this droning kind of music when we were shooting, and that kind of would put everybody in this like kind of weird mood.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that helped a lot. But it's a lot of like just everybody working off one another with seeing how they're portraying their character, and then everybody relates to that. But as far as me with describing to them how to get it out, I don't know. I just kind of just go with it, I guess. I don't know how to explain it.
I think that using music is a great tool to kind of get people in a headspace. Was it something that carry over after shooting? Like, did people have kind of trouble shrugging off the weirdness, or?
Yeah. Like they keep saying they hear the music in their head when they're sleeping at night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But a lot of directing is just getting them into the emotion of the character, pretty much. So, whenever I'm portraying scenes or trying to get them to do what I want in certain scenes, so it's all about like emotion on the face or in the scene. So,
now, did you prefer the writing aspect or the directing aspect? Like, if you could only do one, which would be your preference?
I know it's kind of hard to say. I like directing because it's more like you're more in it doing stuff, and then writing, you're just sitting at a computer all day and you're like,
yeah,
and it gets monotonous and you end up falling asleep when you're writing, and oh my god.
And so, like you said, was it 2020 you started submitting it to film festivals?
Yeah.
What was the feedback? Have you gotten good responses? Were you kind of
Well,
surprised by it? Or people like really shocked by the
yeah,
movie?
yeah. In 2014, when we made the first one, we submitted it to festivals. The Empire State of the Dead one, it actually won first place, and that's kind of what inspired me to keep going with it. And because I love the idea of the character, I never, when I was coming up with the idea for Necropath, when the Empire State of the Dead contest came out, because it was pretty much like make a zombie movie. Like that's all it was about. Is like
Yeah.
has to be a zombie movie, has to be made in New York State. So I'm like, I don't want to make a zombie movie like a typical zombie movie. I don't really care for them, and I'm like, I want to do something different. So I kind of just compiled all these different ideas I had, and then Necropath was born. So I wanted to do something more with a horror icon character in it too. Somebody that'll stand out like Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers.
Right.
And now we have Skag, who carries not just a knife like Michael Myers, but he also has a gun too, like a serial killer element.
Yeah.
So,
So like I remember growing up in like the 80s, it was all vampire movies.
mhm.
Now it feels like it's very heavy zombies, which I kind of feel like is getting played out a little bit, and people are kind of like, okay, I'm over it.
Mhm.
Do you kind of see like is pandemic like the next genre that we're
I
gonna
know,
be
right?
seeing tons of, or like do you have
Yeah.
what's the inside scoop? Like what do you think is gonna be the next big genre?
Um, I don't know. I keep hearing rumors 28 weeks later, days later, months later. I hear they're always going to have another film, but I mean, it seems like there's always a resurgence of zombie films every couple of years. It seems
Yeah.
like. So.
Well, I mean they're a great monster.
Yeah. So.
Do you have like, or you said you weren't a big fan of zombie movies? Are you more the slasher, Jason, Freddy kind of characters that like
Um,
really where you prefer?
yeah, I mean, I like them all in their own way, actually. I actually wasn't a fan of Jason when I was growing up. I was more of a Freddy guy, but like get older,
Well,
like
yeah, Jason didn't have character.
yeah,
Freddy had a lot of personality. Like you could,
get a lot of those one-liners.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Prime time, bitch.
um, yeah, like Michael Myers never. I don't know why the Halloween movies never like really landed with me. Like I
Yeah,
watched a lot of Jason, and
yeah,
Freddy was huge when I was a kid.
yeah.
But it's always like it's always interesting to see people always prefer the originals. Like even the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, I thought was okay. Like I didn't dislike it, but Robert Eng, like no one can play Freddy like Robert
Yeah,
Englund.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's kind of sucks because that gives you a very limited. At some point there will be no more Robert
Right.
Englund Freddy.
It's kind of like how Doug Bradley is Pinhead. You can't.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, you can't
Um,
play him.
did they remake? I remember kept hearing they were planning on a remake. Did they ever?
I think they did. They did a Hellraiser without Doug Bradley in it. I think
Wow, that
so.
obviously was a huge hit. So do you kind of feel like now, if are you kind of at that spot with like Skag? Is Mo always going to be Skag? Like you can't tweak that character at all?
I know, right? Yeah, he's kind of branded himself to be Skag. So, but actually, the horror icon series that I'm looking forward to doing, I think I might have him do that character too. So,
Yeah.
which is a whole masked kind of outfit. So,
Oh, that's cool.
might have him do that too.
Do you do the whole like horror convention circuit kind of thing?
Yeah, not like I mean, I used to a long time ago, but I haven't gone in a while. I was like Monster Manias and stuff like that
Yeah.
in like Jersey but
Chiller theater and that sort of thing.
yeah.
It's funny. I used to have a comic book shop, so I always did comic conventions, and then I did a horror convention, and I'm like, oh my god, I'd rather do these 100 times over
Yeah.
than one comic convention. That people are just more fun,
Mhm.
less not less into they're like if you go to and it's different now. I mean, back when I went to a comic convention, if there was a girl, it was like, oh my god, there's a girl here. But horror conventions, people just seemed more relaxed, and it was less obsessive about it was more love than obsession
Right.
with their hobby. Do you feel there's like a certain type of person that's into horror movies, or
Um, it's kind of hard to say. It's like
yeah?
I think the beauty of horror is like everybody's into it. Like it's like drama films. It's mainly like middle, adult aged, and uh, what else is there?
Oh, Michael Bay. I don't know who his movies appeal to, but people go see them.
Oh, I know, right?
Like what's kind of your goal? Like what's next? Do you have another movie already in mind, or
Um, yeah, like that horror series.
oh,
I'm
right,
working.
right, right, the horror series.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
I'm hoping one day. I mean, I'm thinking big here, but I hope one day like I'm working with James Wan one day because
Oh,
James Wan's the guy who started Saw.
yeah.
Um, him and Lee Wannell, or I hope I said his last name right. Wannell.
So
Uh,
is it something that you're kind of like actively working on production, or is it just kind of like still in planning stages?
what's that?
The series, like, are you
Oh yeah,
actively?
yeah. We're gonna be shooting it this year, so I just got to write more of it and put it together. It's more psychological kind of horror too, as well. Like that stuff with like twists at the end,
Yeah.
kind of things like that. But it's gonna be different, like Necropath. It's not gonna be. No, it won't be something someone seen before in some other movie or something like that. So.
And what are you watching either for inspiration, or just like what are you binge watching now? Like what's on your radar that people should be checking out?
Um, for inspiration wise, I mean, I just kind of I get a lot of inspiration listening to like droning music and stuff, like stuff without like lyrics and stuff like that. Like kind of put you in a certain headspace, I guess. But I mean, I love like Terminator is probably like one of my favorite movies. Terminator, RoboCop.
Oh
Uh,
man, RoboCop. I
yeah,
haven't watched that in ages.
so great.
Do you ever like go back and watch movies that you loved and been like, oh, this doesn't hold up, or the special effects aren't quite as good as they could be now, or like I feel like everyone in RoboCop's a perfect example. They went and decided to remake it, but
Mhm.
sometimes I'm just like, even if it's not as good as it could be now visually,
Yeah,
I'd still rather watch the original.
yeah. The original's insane. It's awesome. So.
Um, so can you tell us a little bit more about the series? You said it's more of a psychological thriller. Is it individual stories like a Black Mirror kind of thing? Is it a continuing
Like
story?
the way I want to put it together, and what's probably, and when we talk about inspirational movies, is Creep Show 2.
Hmm.
How in Creep Show we have Chief Woodenhead in the beginning, but in between Chief Woodenhead and then the next one was like a little short about called The Raft,
Yep.
where the kids go into a raft thing in the middle
And there's
of
like
the
a
water
blob in the
system.
water, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But in between each segment, there's like a cartoony kind of thing in the middle, and I've always wanted to do something like that. So I'm thinking about making 3 short episodes and then kind of intertwining something in between it. It's not going to be a cartoon kind of thing. It's going to be something different, but um,
So is it
it's
going to be like a crypt keeper type character?
no, it's the main character for that. Yeah, he's kind of looks like a sewery kind of character. Um, but yeah, it's kind of representation of fear, I guess. I had to put it in some kind of term, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you feel that over the next year or so, uh, I mean, there's no mistaking last year was fucked up.
mm,
And do you think there'll be more demand for like horror type things, or you think people are kind of like, I want to see like a happy movie, or are people going to kind of have had enough real life horror that they're looking for something else?
I think we're all gluttons for punishment, to be honest.
That's fair. That's fair.
We all love it. I think it'll be here forever. So it's just kind of how we need day and night. We need Halloween and horror stuff too. So good and bad.
Nice. Yeah, I'm curious to see kind of like what the next 2-3 years has in store. I was talking with a musician yesterday, and she's like, I feel like there's going to be a renaissance of all this creative energy, either people who have spent a year in quarantine producing stuff, or
Yeah.
have a year of quarantine that they have to work out of their system, and a lot of times bad feelings generate creativity, and
Yeah.
so I think it's going to be really interesting to see what comes the next 2-3 years. I think.
Right.
Were
I know.
you
What's up?
I'm sorry, were you more productive during quarantine?
Yeah, I didn't work on films during quarantine. I worked on an attraction that's actually not far from here in Rome, New York. It's called Atrophy Escape Ward. It's those escape rooms going around right now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I made my own version of an escape room, and it's more of a theatrical kind of event. It's not like where you get put in a small room and you got to figure it out. It's kind of a whole like walking into a hospital and you go from one room to the next room to the next room. It's really psychological as well. Pretty much whenever I approach something, I always try to put my own version into it, so it's not like a cookie cutter, kind of thing that everybody else sees. So
Yeah.
like Necropath for zombie movies, I didn't want to make a bunch of middle class people running from zombies and they all get eaten, and one of them gets infected, and I wanted to just do something different with the film, and that's kind of what I did with the Escape Ward too. So it's a elaborate production, and we're actually working on it this weekend. But during quarantine, or whatever you want to call it, the pandemic last year, I worked on rebuilding it the entire year. So
Yeah, I love that kind of interactive stuff. There was a couple things near me. For a while, everyone was running like 5Ks, and there was one where you could run from zombies for 5Ks. And that was an interesting spin. There was like an airsoft paintball type place where on Halloween you basically shot up zombies, and I don't know who they got to volunteer for the zombies, because I feel like that'd be only so fun to get shot in the head 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really interesting, way of taking, the classic horror into like new avenues. And have you, live stream, with things like Twitch, and there's been a lot of live stream music. We live stream a stand-up comedy show every couple weeks. Is that something that you've ever kind of like kicked around ideas for, like some sort of live stream horror?
I never thought about anything live stream because I'm not very extroverted. So yeah, like with doing like YouTube channels or anything like that, I always thought about it, but then again, I'm not really a big like talker, like kind of person. So
Yeah.
More visual, I guess, like writing it down and like making things, I guess.
Do you find that becomes a challenge when you're writing dialogue?
No, because I'm writing it, so yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I kind of just picture it and just kind of flows through and write it down. But if it's me trying to do it, it would be different.
Right.
So
cool, man. So where can people go? I mean, we mentioned that Necropath is on Amazon Prime. Is it currently on Amazon Prime or going up on?
it's on Amazon Prime. I just got the list yesterday from the distribution company. It's like on Vudu, Google Play, Amazon Prime. You could buy Amazon DVDs. It's on Xbox. What else? Vimeo. I think they sent the list. Microsoft something.
Nice.
Yeah, iTunes and Apple TV.
Oh,
Those are
excellent.
two big ones. Yeah.
Where can people go online to follow what you're working on? I'm assuming there's socials for Necropath.
Yeah, on Facebook, I always go to Facebook because it's easier to get out information as opposed to like Instagram, where you can only just post a picture and you can't post links or anything on it. So I just send people to Facebook. It's just if you type Necropath horror in the search, and it'll pop up.
Nice.
Or it's like the @Necropath horror film. Yeah, one of those.
Mm-hmm. And your industrial horror attraction, is that happening? I know it's super early, but I mean,
yeah, that's happening in October.
Did you have to cancel this past October? Or?
No, ironically, I don't know. I wrote a letter to the governor. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but I wrote him saying, like, how Halloween events are low low risk kind of attractions. So there's one flow of traffic, stuff like that. So and a lot of Halloween events are outside. I wasn't just advocating for KO, but like everybody, like I want everybody to open and have a great Halloween season. So
yeah, well, hopefully everything will be back to normal for whatever that is this Halloween, and so people can. I'm assuming there's a website and stuff for that.
For the Halloween attraction.
Yeah.
It's actually over here.
Is it CAIO
industrial?
Okay.
.com.
And people can go there and check out what's going on.
Yeah, that's also on Facebook too. So
excellent.
And the Atrophy Escape Ward, I don't know if anybody's from the Northeast at all watching, or most likely because we're both from the Northeast.
Massachusetts is definitely our heaviest download. We do have quite a few New York listeners, but I mean, really, it's all over the place.
Awesome. Yeah, if anyone's in the Northeast and wants to check out the attraction, it's called Atrophy Escape Ward, and we're going to be opening up that again in probably March. We usually run it like a couple weekends, but it's an hour-long experience, and it's definitely a memorable time for people. Everybody loves it that goes to it. So
is that like for groups or individuals?
You could do groups up to 6 people.
Yeah.
And we do it like an hour time slot. So,
cool.
But it's like a theatrical kind of escape room. It's based in a 1920s asylum. And we have actors in there, and it's pretty intense.
No, it's pretty cool.
And that's also on Facebook too.
Excellent. Awesome, man. Well, I want to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us. It's been creepy.
That's the part.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna have to check out Necropath because now it's on Amazon Prime. It's got to be on my list. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Hopefully our listeners will check out your events and your movies and your future projects. And I want to say thank you to all our listeners for listening. We'll catch you guys again next week.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.